When you're out on the street and you coax your mind into a nice smooth thought process of street photography, then you're always working on the edge of a great shot. What you are looking for could turn up at any moment. It could be right in front of you. But the tipping point for that moment is more in your mind than it is in the crowds and the places on the street. It's often the slight difference, a nuance in the crowd or a movement that you see because of your point of view, your attitude, and this awareness that you've achieved by having this very strong intention. You'll know it when you see it. Harry Gruet, the street photographer or artistic photographer, always says he works very intuitively, and I can relate to that. I work intuitively. That way of working is always the way that makes street photography a surprising and wonderful experience for anybody who wants to practice it. You may never know what you might encounter. I think the only mindset that I carry around with me all of the time is a decision that I made a long time ago. When I point the camera at a situation on the street that I think is going to be a good shot, I want to make something artistic out of it. Colours, shadows, light, angles of architecture all create wonderful situations that you can use in order to create a composition that turns out to be one hell of an image that you can really call artistic. But the problem is time is of the essence very often when we're on the street. Street photography, it's not really for somebody who wants to walk around dreamily, not really watching. It's something that you have to be very aware of when you're doing it, because time is also like the light and the darkness. We love to use that morning light, we love to use the evening light, and so we're under time pressure quite often when the evening is coming and the whole city is going to be encompassed in darkness. Everything changes then. Sure, you can do night photography, but it's that time before dusk or as dusk is coming that is going to give us the best opportunities for wonderful shots. When you go out with that mindset of a street photographer who's very aware of their surroundings, it's then you know for sure the shot is there somewhere. It's when you meander and just dream that you probably get bored. Sometimes if I stop and just relax after a couple of hours out there on the street, it feels like time is standing still. But as soon as I see something, I feel a pressure that time is flying past. It's a fleeting moment, and I want to capture that fleeting moment. So really, the passing of time is one of the things that we should embrace and work with, and always be aware of the fact that time is fleeting. Such as when we get up early in the morning before sunrise and go out to shoot that sunrise and all the beautiful spray of light across buildings, people going to work, maybe a few interesting compositions of groups of people moving around on the street. We get those long morning shadows, same thing in the evening, get the long shadows, which creates a totally different aspect and a different idea about what composition is, or what is possible with the composition, as it would be at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. It doesn't matter if it's winter or summer, I'll still go out and do street photography every opportunity I can get, which is probably about 4 times a week if I'm lucky, maybe twice a week. So one day I decided to go out to Charlottenburg in Berlin, and it was partly sunny, partly dullish, and it started to rain. So I decided that I would go under the bridges and see what I could find there. And so I got this shot. And suddenly I realized that even under the bridge there, the light was filtering in from both ends of it. And there was a possibility for a shot there. And so I created this shot. And when I saw the man walking into the tunnel, white crisp shirt, very preoccupied with his mobile phone, at the moment he passed the homeless person on the floor, who I kept out of the shot except for their legs in a sleeping bag, I felt that created some sort of tension there, but I just liked the structures and the colours that I could get under a bridge. So in order to do this, I set the camera at 1600 ISO, and then a shutter speed of 1/160th of a second, and then I kept the f-stop at f8 in order to just stay safe. And it seemed to work out. I like the shot, but it's a good shot that makes you feel good that you didn't waste 3 hours out on the street on a windy and dull day. If there's one thing that I like to study more than anything in photography, it'll always be composition. And the way I do this is to look at other people's work. It's when you do this that you see the best photos, the ones that appeal the most to most people are ones which are artistic, or what you could call very creative. When you look at these photos, and it could be any photographer, and anything that basically floats your boat and makes you think, wow, look at that, it's a fantastic photo. And you start to study it and you begin to understand what it is about the photo that makes it so attractive or so beautiful or so interesting. Not all interesting photos have to be beautiful. One of the things that really good photographers show in their work, that they're not afraid to use the colours and angles to create some sort of beauty in the symmetry of what they see. And it can be a really gritty city somewhere, but somehow they get it, that the light, the shadow, the angles, the architecture, and the people in the photos, somehow it just brings that moment of life alive and makes the photo. And there are so many ways that you can combine angles and colours and line and shadow and light to create some of the most unique images. I think that composition and the way you take photos is very personal, because it's actually a reflection of how you personally see the world. And so you do it your way, and that helps you to relax and get on with it. Don't try and be like other photographers, just learn from them. Take little pieces from them and try them out. But at the end of the day, I do think it's important that you make your work accessible to people to view it, because it's that way that you might be able to sell a piece. It's that way that you get an audience. It depends how you're doing it. It's, in this modern day and age, there's so many different ways to present your work to people, online or in a gallery, or through sales, of commercial sales on from a website of some type. Yet you do want it to appeal to an audience. I like to make my work accessible, you know, so that people who like looking at and buying images will be interested in it. The whole idea of composition is about balancing lines and angles, colours, light and shadow. And that can also be black and white, monochrome, or it can be in colour. That's entirely a personal thing too. I mean, I've taken shots recently, and I've got this great intention that I'm going to go into the winter taking colour shots and look for the colour. But I took a shot a couple of days ago, and it was a beautiful shot of a couple on an escalator. I didn't think much of it at first, but when I looked at it, I just thought the expressions on their faces expressed this idea of possibly a couple who have got older, but also just life, you know. And somehow it works best in black and white. It's such a beautiful shot. And I just found it very interesting. I don't think it's a, you know, fantastic shot or anything like that, but I do think it's thoughtful, and that it can make a person think about life. And somehow or another, I just find it much better in black and white. The problem with colour, sometimes when the shot is not about colour and you want it to keep it in colour, the problem is that you'll end up distracting everybody from the real point of the image. And that means that the colour is going to be just way too garish, and it will be in the way, it will be clunky, it won't have any meaning, and there'll be no reason for it. But a viewer, audience who are not photographers looking at your work, and you've kept it in colour when it should have been a black and white really, they're probably just going to look at it and think, I don't get it, I don't understand what that is. And that's also a mindset that you need to practice, colour or black and white. And as I say, I'm getting out there right now and looking for colour. And there are other times when I go out there and I'm just thinking black and white all the time. And what that means is, because I've got this intention to look for black and white, and because I'm very determined to look for these images or see them that are going to be fitting for a black and white image, I tend to find them. And it's got a lot to do with this idea of, you know, to be a photographer, you need a strong intention. What it means is you know what you want to get, but you can't name it. You can't name the image itself, but you do know the sentiment that you want to find on the street. But, you know, taking photos is very, very much about composing. And that means composition, of course. And whatever it is you're doing, black and white or colour, Sometimes it is, it's about balancing colour, it's about balancing lines and shadow and light. And sometimes it can feel like in that moment when you've got the camera up and you're taking the shot, you're about to take the shot, it can really feel like you're walking on a tightrope and you're balancing and wobbling. And sometimes we take the shot and we see that we fluffed it. And sometimes we see we took the shot and we're successful. And when we fluff it, we learn lessons that are very valuable. And that is how time is of importance when we're out there on the street. And in order to work with that time, which is the ever-changing atmosphere of the weather, the light, etc., and the very fact that what you're looking for mostly that is going to probably turn out to be a great shot is a spontaneous moment on the street, which you lift your camera and you take the shot, and you're already there with your settings. You just hope you got it right for the light at that particular moment, which could be just a period of 5 minutes that the light is stable, and then suddenly it changes because I get the shot I want when I work manual on my camera. If it's on automatic, I may as well just give it to somebody else and then go out and get me some shots on automatic. Boredom in street photography is only for people who don't really want to become aware of their surroundings. That needs to be acutely observed because time is a very interesting thing in photography. We're actually capturing moments in time, and so we really need to be aware of the time and the change in time and how that time can be represented by the weather, the light and the shadows and what's happening on the street right in front of you. Could be the same thing, the same group of people pass you once and you think, that ain't nothing to photograph. 10 minutes later they come by and somehow the light is hitting them in a different way, but it's the same group of people and they've got the same mood, but the light hits them in a way that you think that's a shot, and you're up and boom, and you take the shot. And when we're not observing, we're not building up a strong intention or any sense of passing time. Time as a street photographer needs to be acutely observed. What's happening, what's changing. Time changes things. When we look around ourselves and we see how the street is like a hustle and bustle, and sometimes it's a bit like a dance. And the street photographer who's acutely observing the street is the one who will be capturing those small but intriguing moments along the path of life. Anyway, thanks for watching, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Might help you, help me, so we can stay in touch and update you on what's new. And don't forget, there's a few links below which will link you to my ebook, which is still ebook at the moment, and also a few links that show you which equipment I use. Okay, enjoy the weekend. It's coming up pretty soon. It's about Friday now, and I hope you get out there with a camera if you can. So I'll see you then. Bye bye.